undeceive yourself, monsieur," replied Monte Cristo. "I am quite sure that, on the contrary, he will choose everything as I wish. He knows my tastes, my caprices, my wants. He has been here a week, with the instinct of a hound hunting by himself. He will arrange everything for me. He knew that I should arrive today at 10 o'clock. He was waiting for me at the Barrière de Fontainebleau. He gave me this paper. It contains the number of my new abode. Read it yourself." And Monte Cristo passed a paper to Albert. "Ah, that is really original," said Beauchamp. "And very princely," added Chateau Renaud. "What, do you not know your own house?" asked Debray. "No," said Monte Cristo. "I told you I did not wish to be behind my time. I dressed myself in the carriage, and descended at the Viscount's door." The young men looked at each other. They did not know if it was a comedy Monte Cristo was playing, but every word he uttered had such an air of simplicity that it was impossible to suppose what he said was false. Besides, why should he tell a falsehood? "We must content ourselves, then," said Beauchamp, "with rendering the Count all the little services in our power. I, in my quality of journalist, open all the theatres to him." "Thanks, monsieur," returned Monte Cristo. "My steward has orders to take a box at each theatre." "Is your steward also a Nubian?" asked Debray. "No, he is a countryman of yours, if a Corsican is a countryman of anyone's. But you know him, Monsieur de Morcerf. Is it that excellent Monsieur Bertuccio, who understands hiring windows so well?" "Yes, you saw him the day I had the honor of receiving you. He has been a soldier, a smuggler, in fact, everything. I would not be quite sure that he has not been mixed up with the police for some trifle, a stab with a knife, for instance." "And you have chosen this honest citizen for your steward," said Debray. "Of how much does he rob you every year?" "On my word," replied the Count, "not more than another. I'm sure he answers my purpose, knows no impossibility, and so I keep him." "Then," continued Chateau Renaud, "since you have an establishment, a steward, and a hotel in the Champs-Élysées, you only want a mistress." Albert smiled. He thought of the fair Greek he had seen in the Count's box at the Argentina and Valle theatres. "I have something better than that," said Monte Cristo. "I have a slave. You procure your mistresses from the opera, the vaudeville, or the varietés. I purchased mine at Constantinople. It cost me more, but I have nothing to fear." Okay, folks, let's just acknowledge that last sentiment right out the gate. Whoa, Dante, cool your jets, man. Not a fan of that. Maybe he will explain what he means by that a little bit more in the next passage. But don't like to hear that you have a slave at your disposal. What else is going on here? Dante saying that he has bought this house, sent Ali to procure it for him. The men basically going around the room, either complimenting him or kind of contributing to his reputation of sorts, with lines like Debray saying, "What? Do you not know your own house?" Which is indicating that Dante is buying property and a home without even knowing what it is. But also that Dante is putting, from his point of view, putting his faith in his, I'm going to call them employees, for not wanting to lean into the servitude of a lot of these folks he employs. I also found this to be interesting as part of like the narrator. You know, this is kind of Dumas' fingerprint on here saying, the young men looked at each other. They did not know if it was a comedy Monte Cristo was playing, but every word he had uttered had such an air of simplicity that it was impossible to suppose what he said was false. Besides, why should he tell a falsehood? This, I think, is setting up the sort of dramatic irony, not against Dante, but, you know, that we as readers know something that these men don't. Not specific plans, but general plans that Dante is aiming at here with everything that he's doing in his life. And the men going around also offering him what they can of their services. Beauchamp basically saying anytime you need a ticket to the theaters, my boxes are open to you. Well, not his boxes, but he can get the boxes open to him. One name I had to go look up again was Monsieur Bertuccio, otherwise known as Dante's steward. Apparently, we met him before. The cast of characters is so long that I feel like if we did meet him, which I'm assuming we did, it was so brief early on that it had to have been in passing. Let me look this up here. Okay, yes. Yeah, right. The Major Domo was what he was referred to before, though wasn't given a name until now. So this is the first time we're hearing of Bertuccio, though I kind of got mixed up in the melange of all of the other Italian names that came out during those chapters. But the context was like, oh yeah, clearly Albert has met him before, and if Albert's met him before, we certainly have met him before. Because I don't think, no, I'm certain that there were no interludes of Albert and Dante spending time with each other that we as readers did not see. Same with Franz. Okay, so we are about to wrap up chapter 40 tomorrow, and I have started to do my research on this translation, discrepancy between Robin Buss and what we are reading, and I went and finished chapter 39 in the Robin Buss book. I'm going to break this into 2 sessions. I'll give you a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow to close out chapter 40. So, chapter 39 that we read ended, if you will remember, with just Albert, Beauchamp, and Dubray sitting around the table. The other men hadn't yet arrived, and it ended like right in the middle of a conversation. Dubray was asking Beauchamp to join them, and Beauchamp was like, well, I got to get out to the courthouse, but, what's on the menu? Are we breakfasting or dining? And Albert's like, we're only going to have breakfast because I'm waiting on 2 other people before we sit down. That was basically the end of chapter 39 that we read. Chapter 39 in the Robin Buss translation goes through introducing Dante. Remember when Dante's introduced here in chapter 40, talks about being punctual. Punctuality is the politeness of kings, or so I believe one of your sovereigns claimed. ... And it basically takes the conversation all the way through Dante humble bragging about not knowing French manners. Remember, he goes on to say something about being so well-traveled, he isn't certain as to, having spent no time in Paris, what the, kind of Parisian style of social life is, the decorum. So apologizing for himself while also kind of gloating. And then Beauchamp, Debray, and Chateau Renaud just kind of go around the table, all making a comment on the impressiveness of Dante. Then chapter 40 essentially starts in the Robin Buss book with Albert saying, oh, Monte Cristo, sir, I'm afraid that my cuisine isn't going to be up to your liking. And Dante saying, oh, pish posh, I'm used to having macaroni and polenta, etc., etc. You remember that part? So that's where the discrepancy is. As to why, well, I did some research on that as well, and I will go into it tomorrow. Suffice it to say that despite the break in these chapters being different between one and the other, they are still titled the same, and they still cover the same amount. It's just where that break is that's different. But I have much more to say on that, and we will finish it tomorrow when we wrap up chapter 40 and learn what these men had for breakfast. Maybe it's a quiche. A nice quiche or a frittata, maybe? That sounds kind of good. I mean, It's about 100,000 degrees in my podcast studio as I'm recording this, so a cold breakfast actually sounds kind of good to me right now, but generally speaking, I can always go for a nice little quiche. And listen, I know it sounds indulgent, but like a quiche with a little side of coffee cake? Not an entire quiche, but like a slice of quiche with some coffee cake? That sounds good to me. Maybe a berry or a green smoothie to go. Keep your hydration up, your antioxidants. That's what I'm going to go get. I think a nice cold berry smoothie sounds right up my alley right now. So I'm going to go get that, and I will see you all here tomorrow for the conclusion of Chapter 40. Until then, okay, goodbye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.